We're obsessed with data. We track our steps, our heart rates, our sleep cycles, and our caloric intake. We believe that if we can just quantify our lives, we can control them. That was my first mistake. I found the app on a corner of the internet that doesn't show up on Google. It was called Thanatos 1.0. No flashy logo, no user reviews, no terms and conditions. Just a single pixelated button in the center of the screen that read, "Calculate finality." As a tech enthusiast, I've seen every death clock prank since the early 2000s. They're usually just random number generators designed to jump scare you with an ad. But something about the UI of Thanatos felt heavy. It didn't ask for my age or my medical history. When I tapped that button, it didn't even show a loading bar. It just vibrated once, a long, low hum that felt like it was coming from inside my bones rather than the phone. The screen turned a bruised shade of purple and displayed a single line of text. Subject synced. Predictive analytics active. Minor event at 14:22:15. I checked my watch. It was 2:20 p.m. I had 2 minutes to wait for a prank that I was sure wouldn't happen. I decided to play along. The app predicted a minor event. I figured it would be a loud noise or a fake notification. To be safe, or so I thought, I sat perfectly still at my kitchen table. 14:22:10, 11, 12, 13, 14. At exactly 14:22:15, the overhead light bulb didn't just burn out, it exploded. Shards of glass rained down, one tiny sliver grazing the back of my hand. A single drop of blood welled up. I stared at it, my heart beginning a slow, heavy thud against my ribs. Coincidence, I told myself, old wiring. But then the phone buzzed again. Moderate event, 17:48:02. Blunt force. I spent the next 3 hours in a state of growing hyper-awareness. I stayed away from the stairs. I moved the coffee table. I sat in the middle of my rug, nowhere near anything that could fall. At 17:48:00, I held my breath. Crack! The heavy curtain rod above the window snapped. It didn't hit me, but as I jumped back in reflex, I tripped over my own feet and slammed my shoulder into the doorframe. Blunt force, precisely at 17:48:02. The app wasn't guessing. It wasn't calculating probabilities based on my lifestyle. It was observing the future. Or worse, it was writing it. Every time I tried to avoid the event, the environment shifted to ensure the data stayed 100% accurate. I wasn't the user. I was the variable being solved. I tried to delete it. I held the icon down, but there was no X to remove it. I tried a factory reset, but the screen stayed locked on that bruised purple background. Then, a notification banner slid down from the top. It wasn't a minor event anymore. Terminal event 0400. A countdown timer began. 4 minutes. 4 minutes until my finality. Beneath the timer, a new line of text appeared. Cause asphyxiation. Panic is a cold thing. It doesn't burn. It freezes your thoughts until only the most primal instincts remain. Asphyxiation. I looked around my apartment. I had a gas stove. I checked the knobs. Off. I checked the water tank. Fine. I looked at my windows. If I stayed in the open, anything could happen. A freak leak, a fire, a break-in. I needed a controlled environment. A place where the variables were limited. I remembered the safe room my landlord bragged about when I moved in. A reinforced storage closet in the center of the apartment, built with thick concrete walls and a heavy steel door to serve as a storm shelter. No windows, no gas lines, just a simple ventilation slit and a heavy manual bolt. I grabbed my phone. I couldn't leave it. It was the only thing telling me how much time I had left, and I ran for the closet. I slammed the steel door shut and threw the bolt. I was safe. I was in a concrete box. There were no hanging rods to fall, no glass to shatter, no gas to leak. I sat on the floor, the cold concrete pressing through my jeans. I watched the seconds bleed away. My breathing was ragged, echoing off the walls. Then I noticed the silence. Usually, you can hear the hum of the refrigerator or the distant sound of traffic through the vents, but here it was dead. I looked up at the ventilation slit. It was a small grated opening near the ceiling. A dark, oily liquid was beginning to ooze from it. It didn't smell like chemicals. It smelled like nothing. It was a thick, expanding foam. It was sealing the vent. I scrambled to the door. I grabbed the heavy steel bolt and shoved. It didn't move. It wasn't just stuck. It felt as if the metal had fused into the frame. 1 hour 15. The foam had completely blocked the air vent. The room was airtight. I began to sweat. The air already felt heavy, recycled, thin. I threw my weight against the door, screaming for help, but the concrete walls swallowed my voice. The app buzzed in my hand. I realized then, with a sickening jolt of clarity, that the app didn't predict my death. It guided me to it. If I hadn't seen the countdown, I wouldn't have run. If I hadn't read asphyxiation, I wouldn't have locked myself in this tomb. The algorithm didn't need to kill me. It just needed me to be afraid enough to do the work myself. My lungs are burning. Every gasp brings in less and less. The darkness is closing in, not just from the room, but from the edges of my vision. 02. The phone screen is the only thing I can see. It's so bright, so perfect. 01. The screen goes black, and then I hear it from the other side of the impenetrable steel door. Click. The sound of the handle turning. A faint, dying whisper. It's sinking.